All right, what's going on, boss traders? This is Alex here. Today we're going to be talking about pi and the pi line. So if you guys have watched my videos, you'll notice I mention pi a lot, and subsequently I mention the pi line a lot when looking at charts. So this is part of our cyclical component of the model, and I'm just going to give a little background info on it here before we look at the charts, just to give an idea of where it came from. Okay? So the pi line, if you guys don't know, pi is a number approximately 3.14159. And the pi line is a 314 period moving average based off the number pi and then multiplied by 100. The reason that it's multiplied by 100 to make the moving average instead of, say, a 3.14 period moving average. Reason for that is that Jenkins, the founder, wanted a moving average with a length greater than 200, as pretty much, less than 100 traders out there in the world are using moving averages greater than 200. Okay, no one does it. So on my charts, pi's are going to be this red line always. The bands will be this green color, with the 8 being teal, the 30 being pink or purple, and then my moving averages, the 200 is green, and pi is always red. Okay, so this, I don't know if you want to call it a concept or what, but it was founded or observed by Jenkins, one of our partners over at Jenkins Risk Management, through research of the works of Martin Armstrong, who's an economic forecaster that founded the 8.6-year economic confidence model, which he still uses to this day. All right. Now, I'm not going to go too deep into the details as far as mathematical technicals go, because that's Jason's research, and I just, I'm not that technical with some of the mathematical stuff that goes behind it. But I'll give a little short summary if I can here. Armstrong essentially looked at financial events over a period of 224 years, and he observed something, that there were these large financial panics that were happening every 8.6 years. Okay. Likewise, he observed 26 major events over a 224-year period. All right. 26 events out of 224 years comes out to approximately 8.6 years between each event. And so this plays into this idea of an economic confidence model, and likewise a global business cycle. So 8.6, whether it's 8.6 months, years, weeks, days, it's everything is cyclical, so it all ties in. That's why you'll see what's his name, Tony Vase in crypto, his TD9, right? This TD sequential 9 that says, if you get 9 candles in a row in one direction, it's going to reverse. Well, that just plays into this idea of this 8.6 period global cycle, right? So how does this tie into pi? Well, let me get rid of some of this just so clear up the clutter a little bit. So the exact number of days that makes up this 8.6-year frequency was 3,140 days, which is just pi multiplied times 1,000. Okay, so this all ties in mathematically to how we use pi. And unlike one thing that's really cool about pi is, unlike, say, the 200 or the 50 or the 100 period moving average, a bunch of traders out there using this, like 90% of traders use the 100 or the 200 or the 50. So in that way, they end up working as almost a self-fulfilling prophecy. Price gets back to the 200, a bunch of traders have it on their chart, so a bunch of traders preemptively buy near it, sell below it, stuff like that. Whereas pi, you've got maybe 100 people in the world that use this, and I've only met one trader ever that did not, or that knew about this outside of Jason. And so really, if you did not meet Jason, you don't trade with pi, other than very small number of people. So it's not like, oh, well, we're hitting pi, so thousands of traders are buying near it. Nope. Not how it works. It's just math. Kind of like our bands here, everything will cycle to and from pi on every time frame. You're gonna, just go throw pi up there on your charts, guys, and go look at it on the weekly, the daily, the 4 hour, the 1 hour. You're gonna see all kinds of crazy interactions. It's pretty mind blowing, honestly. It's the coolest moving average I've ever seen, right? And it works because of cycles and math, not just because everyone's using it, because they're not. Okay. So I'm not really going to talk anymore about the in-depth specifics of it. If you're really interested in diving deep into some sick physics talk, then I'd recommend reaching out to Jason in our chat group. Okay. But, in the Boss Crypto model, we're not utilizing the heavy math side of things, and neither does Jason in his charting. It's just, that's what makes up Pi, math. But in the Boss Crypto model, in JJ's model, we're looking at two things. Okay. We look at price action and we look at cycles, aka time. Okay, so we'll be watching how price interacts with pi over time. And I've got the weekly up here, the daily, and the 4 hour. Okay, because we're gonna be looking at this from a swing trader perspective. And if you guys remember from my multiple time frame analysis video, a swing trader trading multiple time frames should trade with the 4 hour as his lower time frame, the daily as his main trading time frame, and the weekly as his higher time frame, right? And that's what we're going to be looking at here, the 4 hour, the daily, and the weekly. And you'll start to see some really cool fractal interactions with pi, meaning you'll see that certain things on one time frame will line up with certain things on other time frames. Okay. And I will probably end up making an entire video on the fractal nature of this model, so I'm not going to outline everything in this video, but just pay attention to that. You'll notice that the daily pi line lines up with the bottom of the weekly EMA bands. So I'm on separate charts here, so you won't be able to see this, but we're on the weekly, and if we were to hop into, we'll just do it. We'll hop into the daily, and you can see that the bottom of the weekly bands lines up very closely with pi on our daily. And so that's kind of part of this idea of a fractal model, where we can see things happening on one time frame, what it means on another time frame, and use all this information to help us get a slight edge on the market, right? So yeah, I'm probably done talking about the math side of things. If you guys want any of this information I have here, if you want more of Jason's work on pi, check out this URL, tinyurl.com/y7jf7m2p, right? Or just go to YouTube, guys, Google Jason Jenkins Pi. Plenty of videos on it where he talks about it. Okay, so if you want any more of this, pause, read it. I'm deleting it here. Boom, boom, and boom. Okay. And now we'll look at some charts and some interactions and how we're using pi in our trading. Okay. So we're not super strict with pi. It's not like, look at the 200 here, right? We're not treating this as like, oh, you get below it at all and we're bearish. Oh, we're below the 200, we're bearish immediately. It's like, no, that's a little amateurish to be trading like that. Rather, we want to just pay attention to how price cycles away from the 200, right? You create big distance. And when I talk about the 200, same thing goes for pi. Right? You create big distance between the 200 and pi, and price tends to cycle back to it. And it bases at it, and it cycles away from it, and then back to it. And that's all part of cycles. And that's what we're focusing on here, is how price cycles to and from these moving averages, right? So we're not bullish above it necessarily. We're not bearish below it, right? If price comes down, gets below it, we're not just all of a sudden bearish, right? Price just ebbs and flows to it, and we want to treat them as sort of an area, right? Does that make sense? We want to treat it more as an area than a specific, this is where the 200 is, or this is where pi is, right on this dot. We don't really care about specifics too much.